Jesus. Boys, girls, and boys, welcome back. Red Gambit here on a very, very special day for me. This day is fantastic for me. You know why? I hit the controller. That's not why, because I hit the controller. It's because I'm so emphatic. I'm gesticulating. You can't see it. Juri is finally out, my waifu. Anyone who has known me for a long time, anyone who's followed my Twitter, anyone who's followed me on the Facebooks and all that kind of thing would know that Juri is my waifu. Juri is the love of my life in this game, and ever since Street Fighter V was announced, I did nothing but pine for Juri, and I was the person who was like following all the NeoGAF forums with all the data mining when they found her voice recording file in the game and her name being announced and then all that kind of stuff. Then she finally got announced, and then we finally had to wait 6 months after the game came out. Actually, kind of fortunate. It could have been 7 with the original release schedule. Okay, first and foremost with Juri, what you want to know is, like, if you played Juri in Street Fighter 4 or Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and you haven't had a chance to look at her here, think of everything you know about Juri. Just take everything you know, put it all together in a box, and set the box on fire. That's what I want you to do, because this Juri is completely different, which is probably the biggest bummer about her, is that this is a completely and totally different character to what we've seen in those 2 games. She is Juri really in name and appearance only. She has so little of her original moves left, and her original playstyle is completely gone. It's out the window, and it's going to take a big adjustment period for all of us. Her zoning is gone completely, and it sucks, I know, but let's deal with it as a group and move on, okay? So that's the first thing. Okay, that's out of the way. Let's look at her walk speed and dashes. So walk speed, walking forward is pretty amazing. She is covering some ground there. I haven't measured it, but this has got to be on par with Cammy. I mean, it's really ridiculous how far she can cover ground just by walking casually. So that's really good. Back walk speed is not half as good, much slower. So again, kind of testament to the fact that she is a rushdown character, that she can just walk very fast and get in, and is not really made for getting out. So that's good. Her dashes are kind of underwhelming. Her dashes are, as you can see, are pretty short. Backdash is a little bit slower than the forward dash, but they both don't cover a whole lot of ground. If we stand on the line over here, we don't even get 2 boxes on the training grid floor. So yeah, her dash is not so hot. That does change in Feng Shui Engine mode, but we'll get to that later. But just be aware that you're going to have to do some serious dashing if you want to cover ground for any particular reason. So her throw is kind of interesting because the back throw, which you saw before, actually gives a fair bit of distance. Actually got a decent throw out of the back throw. Which is quite good if you're looking to try and position someone with that. Bad news is, the opposite of that is that the forward throw doesn't move them at all. Great animation, love the animation, perfectly suits Juri, but if there's no forward distance on the forward throw at all. So that is a real bummer. Not really sure why they did that, personally. That's a little bit of a mystery why. I think she's the only character in the game who just gets no distance at all off a throw. A little bit odd. I'm sure that Base and Capcom have a reason for that, which we'll find out in due time. So, normals. Now, her normals overall, she's retained some of her normals. If you've seen my Juri kind of overview video that I did when she first came out in story mode, I went and covered this, but I'll cover it again here. She's retained some of her normals from Street Fighter 4, but they behave differently. And she's lost some other ones. So we'll go through that now. So the good news is, first and foremost, that you should know is that many of her normals are special cancelable. In fact, there's only a handful that aren't special cancelable, so you can cancel off just about everything, which is part of a mix-up game, which again, we'll actually probably cover that in the second video. But basically, pretty much just about anything can be special cancelled off of, but we'll look at that in a bit. Staying light jab, not too bad. I can't measure frame data right now, I don't have that frame data in front of me, it hasn't been released in the app yet, but I'm gonna go on and guess and say that's 3 or 4 frames. Very fast. Light kick, not quite as fast. Decent range for light, but not as fast. Semyon Punch is just the jab now. It's basically the close medium punch animation she had from 4. She lost her far-reaching medium punch animation. So let's get this bad boy here. She still has her stand medium kick, which hits twice, as you can see. So that's basically identical as what it was in 4, which is really good. Standing heavy punch is this behind the head kick. Again, exactly the same as it was in Street Fighter 4. So that's good. It is good for use in combos, I've found. It does work in combos. Kind of tight to link, but we'll get into that again. Stand heavy kick is really good. It's actually probably, I actually wager it's probably a little bit better than it was in 4. It seems to have a little bit more distance to it. The animation's kind of a little bit faster, I think. Could be wrong, but it's at least as good as it was in 4. it cannot be special cancelled. It's one of the few moves that cannot be special cancelled. So, but it is also a crush counter. That's a very important thing to know. Juri has a few crush counters, which is really good. And one of them is her standing heavy kick. So that will be looked at in due time. Crouching normals, not really useful to punch. It looks slower than a standing punch. Not very good distance on it. You can kind of see here. Have to really work for that. Light kick's just about as bad. Same problem as Cammy with her medium kick where the animation overlaps there, so the hitbox is shorter than the animation. So that's another thing to remember there as well. Crouching medium punch is the same as it was in 4, except for the fact that it is a little bit lower and it is no longer an anti-air. So she lost her godlike anti-air, which is bad, but she got it replaced with something which is kind of almost similar as good. So this is your bread and butter linker in combos now, for the most part. Crouching medium punch, kind of the same as Cammy. Crouching medium kick has ever so slightly more range to it. I have tested it, but it's such a slight difference, it's really not worth bothering with. Also the fact that the crouching medium kick is actually slower than the punch. So you can kind of see the speed in there. They look similar, but I can tell you in combos, there are situations where crouching medium punch will work and crouching medium kick will not. So that's another thing to remember there. Crouching medium heavy punch is this. This is a primary anti-air now. As you can see, it sticks out a long fucking way. It's going above Ryu's head. So it has got a monster range to it, which is really good. It is also a crush counter as well. So this will also crush counter if you put him into counter state. So you can see, that's crush counter, that's crush counter. So those are two things to remember. Crouching heavy kick is the sweep. Doesn't have probably quite as good range as it used to. As you can see, we're kind of whiffing through Ryu again there, but still decent range. So that's going to be for the standing normals there. She doesn't get any unique normals anymore. So her jumping neutral kick is the same as it was before. Her forward jumping heavy punch, which will show obviously is not the same as it was before, but it's the same as the neutral. So all of her neutral attacks are the same as her forward moving attacks, which is very, very disappointing for any of us who wanted the split kick that she had in 4. The jumping heavy kick split kick was a freaking favorite move of mine for punishing moves that sort of flew by beneath you, and unfortunately that is now gone forever and probably not coming back. Okay, jumping normals. She has some very good jumping normals, so let's go through those. Jumping light punch is not one of them. You have to really find a practical use for that. So jumping light punch, not really much use for that. Jumping medium punch, as you can see, it does have the same animations that it had in 4. It doesn't have quite the same wonky hitbox that it had. It's not quite as good. It will still put people into a fall state, or juggle state rather I should say, if we put our friend Ryu here into doing jumps. There we go, jumps. So he does go into a juggle state, which actually does combo. Oh, Ryu, you're making me look bad. There we go. So it is a juggle state, but there are better options for use in the air, which again will be covered shortly. So that's that. Jumping heavy kick, jumping heavy punch I should say, is kind of weird. Kind of reminds me of Yang's jumping heavy kick in Street Fighter 4, where it's just like a weird up angle and wasn't particularly useful. It's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. It's similar to Cammy's jumping heavy kick, it's just that her jumping heavy kick is actually better. So that we'll get to right now. So jumping light kick is this bad boy here. It crosses up, as you can see, so it's quite good. Very easy cross up with this. Has a good hitbox on it, very hard to miss with. Good move overall. Jumping medium kick I actually really like. They've made the animation a bit more ambiguous than it was in Street Fighter 4, so it's harder to tell when it's crossing up. So that was a cross up. I probably wouldn't have picked that. So that's in front. That's more obvious a cross up. That's in front. That's a cross up. So it's very, if you can space it right, that is a very ambiguous cross up tool. So yeah, good move. And her jumping heavy kick, which as I said before, is just a better jump in tool. It doesn't cross up. So she can retain her cross ups from before, but it does not, same as in Street Fighter 4, it doesn't cross up. But it's basically has the same animation it had before, and it's just a good jump in tool. Angled down, good damage, all those things. Decent, better range than the jumping medium kick. So her best jump in tool all around if you're not looking to get a cross up. So those are basically all of her normals. So all in all, like her normals are kind of a mixed bag. Some of them are, she has less useless normals than she had in 4, which is good. But also the overall number of moves that she has decreased, which is bad. All right, Let's talk about her command normals, because we haven't had a chance to cover those yet. I want to do that before I forget about them. So Juri has 2 command normals, which we can talk about now. She has her overhead, which is the same as it always is. That's forward medium kick for her overhead. It's pretty much identical to what it was in 4. It still has a fairly slow start up. It probably goes a little bit further than it did in 4. I feel like it's a little bit further. But all in all, it's pretty much the same as it ever was. There's very little changed about that. The animation's slightly different, that's about it. But that is her only command normal overhead, or any overhead at all. Her other command normal is her back heavy kick, which hits twice. That's just regular heavy kick, that's back heavy kick. Good thing about this move is that it is very similar to Cammy's forward heavy kick, in that it's a move that has a lot of active frames, which means it's very good. It's special cancelable as well, so we can cancel off of it, and it will actually have, because it has so many active frames, it's a good meaty for wake ups. So I've already set Ryu to jab on wake up here. So Ryu's doing his wake up jab there. So it's a little bit tight at a time. Whoop. A little bit tight at a time. That's a counter. So good wake up punish if people are doing jabs is to do back heavy kick into heavy dragon punch. That's counter every time. So very good in that regard. I do like it as a wake up punish for people who like to press buttons on wake up. So we can turn that off. Yeah, there's that. So let's get on to some of the other good stuff. Let's talk about the specials. So Juri specials have completely and totally and utterly changed. There's only 2 specials which remain even slightly similar to what they did before, and that is her fireball store. You can also notice if you look down beneath Ryu where my has super gauge, and my victory gauge is, it's actually showing the opponent what fireballs you have stored, which is not helpful because they're no longer guessing which fireball you have stored anymore, which I don't like at all actually. This has also changed as well because you no longer have to hold the button down. I'm not holding the buttons down anymore for this. I can actually, I can turn on input controls, but that probably won't help. But you basically store it once to actually do the store, and then you actually have to do a fireball again to release it. So that's a light kick fireball. That's the only move. You can actually hear me pressing the button to do this. I'll turn on input controls, just so you can see it for yourself. So 1, 2. So you can see me pressing light kick and doing the motion each time to do this. Now the good news about the fireball store, before we get into the bad news, the good news is that the actual animation for the store itself still will cancel out fireballs. It still has a fireball hitbox on it, like it did in 4, and it actually has like a little bit more of a generous hitbox in active frames than it did before. So it's quite easy to basically nullify fireballs with it if you have someone pestering you with that. So you can, if we turn on action playback settings, we turn on recording slot 1. Yes. Alright, so he's going to throw fireballs at us, which is good. So, as you can see, I did that a little bit early, and I let this fireball go. You can't store fireballs endlessly either. You have to let it go before you can do it again, which is kind of a bitch. But you can see I did it late there, and it still worked. So, it's good for a single fireball nullification, but if you do it again, you gotta get rid of the fireball first. Did it too late there. So, you probably noticed that the light kick fireball no longer travels very far at all, which again is a letdown. So this is not going to be a long distance pestering tool anymore. It is very poor range. It goes about half screen, as you can see. So it travels very slowly, which makes it good for mix-ups. But right now, just covering specials, you can just see what it does. It's no bueno. If you're looking to like use as a zoning tool, forget about it. There you go, it just ran out. So it's not good, unfortunately. It's now a mix-up tool. It's a mix-up tool, and it's also used for making your combos safe. Those are really its primary uses now. Not a zoning tool anymore. Her medium kick is no longer a fireball at all. It is now an overhead-looking move that is not actually an overhead. You would think that's an overhead. You would also be wrong. It's not. Fireball is very safe on block. It's actually plus on block. I can almost guarantee you that right now, that Fireball is plus on block. But the rest of those specials, like Fireball Store is safe on block, and Light Kick Fireball is plus on block. But any other special moves at all are completely unsafe on block, so don't try them. That's what you need the fireball for. Which again, I will cover later. I will get to that, I promise, but there's a lot to get through here, so just stick to doing it categorically and we'll work through that stuff later. Her heavy kick fireball is now this rush forward move, which is good. Nice to have it stored up. It's used for ending combos, although you can follow up afterward if you have the right fireball stored and the right setup going there. But it's completely unsafe on block. It's basically a heavy kick pinwheel, and that's about it. Not much else to it. So there's that. All right, her other special moves, she now has, instead of her pinwheel, which is half circle back, sorry, quarter circle back, I should say. What am I saying? Quarter circle back. And kick, she now has this Hazanshu move that she stole from Chun-Li. Her eternal rival, Chun-Li and Cammy, she has stolen this move from. So this move initially looks terrible because it's unsafe on block. Every version is unsafe on block, which makes it bad in general. And you can use it in combos, but there are better combos to use it in, which mostly involve, like basically all her good combos involve fireballs. They don't really involve this move. That said, that's the medium version. The heavy version goes the furthest. But it's not a great special move, except for the fact that it actually will take her over fireballs. It does not have fireball invincibility, it will just take her over fireballs. So if we set a good friend Ryu here to record, to playback a animation I did, our fireball animation from before, right? Over the fireball. And you can do it reasonably late. Not super late, because that's super late. But reasonably late will take you over the fireball. So this is now, we've lost dive kicks, which sucks, I know. All of us Juri fans are really lamenting the lack of dive kicks anymore. This is the best thing you got to replace it. It is a solid punch of fireballs. That's all I can give you. That's it. That's really the only time. There are some combos, as again, that you can use it in. But that is really the only time you'll be using that move, is punch fireballs. And potentially for a punish for a move that's landed far away that you can't get to. But that's really going to be it. It's a terrible footsie tool, as I said, because it's unsafe on block. Lastly, and possibly leastly, I don't know, she gained a Dragon Punch, which is good, but it's not invincible, which is bad. That is all. Ryu, Ken, Cammy, and Nakali remain the only 4 characters in the game to have an invincible DP that is not EX. Every other character, now Juri included, has to use meter if they want to make their DP invincible. So, what's weird about a DP is the different versions travel in different directions. If we do light, it's actually just a pinwheel. It's just light is basically a regular pinwheel, which is nice for nostalgia, doesn't really have much practical use that I've found. There probably is a practical use for it, but this is day 1 and I've yet to find it. You know, it's just, yeah, not a great move. Doesn't do a whole lot of damage, as you can see. Very little damage there. Medium goes kind of up a little bit, and heavy goes up and the furthest. So really you'll be using heavy all the freaking time. The only time that you use light is what I showed you before, when you do the jumping medium punch and you can do a light pinwheel after that. So you can also do an EX after that, but that's beside the point. So yeah, that's a DP. It's not very good. It's again is really a tool that is used in combos and not a whole lot else. It is a terrible anti-air. If you want to use an anti-air, you're actually much better off using her crouching heavy kick. Sorry, punch. It's confusing when they're both kicks. A jumping heavy punch is a much better anti-air, and let me show you why. As primarily because, all right, it's going to do jump in, jump out now. So if we anti-air him, it's a crush counter which puts him in the juggle state. If you time that right, you can juggle off of it. So that's what's really good about this, is that you can actually use the DP afterwards to actually get the punish. So you don't want to use the DP as the anti-air, you want to use the crush counter and then the DP to get your extra damage. So that's basically the primary reason why you would use the DP as the anti-air, is actually a follow-up to your crush counter. So that's basically that for all the special moves. We can show you the EX versions pretty much right now, so let's do that. So, the EX version of the Fireball is her heavy kick, it always comes out no matter what strength you do, it comes out as the heavy kick version. Next thing is the EX Zanshu move. Causes ground bounce. which means you can get a follow-up off of it. It does not travel particularly far. It does have decent distance to it. Not full screen though, as you can see. You can do it from anywhere but full screen, and you will get that juggle, though it's not... You probably won't be able to get a follow-up off of it. You have to be reasonably close to get the follow-up. So that's fine. The one move that does get invincibility is her DP. So we can turn the fireball back on now. Alright. Oop, too late. You can see us starting to go through that, but it does not have a whole lot. There we go. You can use it as a reversal, which is probably going to be a situation which you'll find yourself in reasonably frequently, because it's really her only get off me move that you can use, and her super is not fantastic either. So, speaking of a super, let's show it off now. So, fun fact, if you watch her eye patch gets blown off during this animation. And now we have no eye patch, and we did a crap ton of damage to Ryu. So that's basically it. It's a little bit underwhelming in terms of the animation. You could say that Juri has a history of having bad supers because her super in 4 was also pretty not hype. The critical art was great, but super not so much. She just basically throws out that big wall of energy, and that's kind of it. So you can do it from a decent distance, but does less damage the further away it is. You can see that was like half damage. And if you do it full screen, it just won't hit at all. So yeah, it does travel, despite the fact that it travels quite fast, which is good. The actual startup is quite slow if you watch the startup. Like there's a discernible there kind of animation where she's still flipping her body around before the fireball comes out. So you can use it in combos, but it's a little bit rough. So that's fine there. So that covers that. Let's talk about her V skills. Her V skill is very interesting. It has a lot of potential, but it also has a lot of drawbacks. Like a lot of things with this version of Juri, as you're finding out. You get about as many goods as you do bads. So her V skill is actually a mix-up. It will actually travel to the opponent, she'll teleport to them, appear on the far side, she always appears on the far side, and does an attack. Neat! As you can see, it does actually register as a cross-up. Doesn't work at full screen, works at everything else. So, problem with this move is that it is not safe on block, which sucks. Although at the same time I can see why, because if it was safe on block it'd be godlike. A teleport full screen that's safe on block? Yeah. But also crosses up? Yeah, I can kind of see why that's not safe on block. So therein lies the problem with that, is that it's a kind of move that, it's good in the sense that like, it's going to be something that people, if you don't overuse it, people will probably have trouble seeing it coming. But other than that, it is a risk that you take at your own risk, basically, because it is punchable on block, and it does not have a whole lot of pushback either. If we set our friend Ryu here to guard all, doesn't really push him back, so they can get in that punish pretty easily. Now, there is a caveat to this, when I said that it only hits behind, is that you can actually charge this move. So if you hold the buttons down, it actually charges up and hits in front, then behind. Which is very interesting because it changes the properties of the move significantly. Before you ask, it's still unsafe on block. Which sucks. It now goes full screen. It will now hit from anywhere while you're charging it up. So you have that going for you. The other interesting thing about this is that in its regular state, it will not pass through fireballs. Let's set our friend here back to playback recording. Slot one on, yes. Alright. So in its regular state, I'll just give you a few examples here. Does not go through fireballs. Just tippy tap. Can't do it at any range, up close. Can't do it far away. Can't do it. But, let's put this one. If we charge up, oop, a little bit too soon. It went through it. Isn't that interesting? It goes through fireballs. Now, there is a caveat to this as well, is that it does not go through fireballs at every range, which sucks. It only works at long range. So as you can see here several times, oops, it'll go through at long range. A little bit closer, that's alright, but once we get down to about a half screen, there's too much startup on it to be able to go through the fireball, as you can see. So So even with it charged, I can't get through the fireball at less than half screen. So it's a move that only works at full screen or less than or up to half screen. Once you get to half screen, this is no longer a fireball punch. But that said, if you're at half screen, you can be using this instead. So you have options at any range, but you just have to pick and choose depending on which one you're at. So that's the thing with that. Now, let's turn that off because that's going to be annoying. Some other things that you probably just noticed me doing if you were paying attention is that you can actually dash cancel it as well. So like an FADC in Street Fighter, you can actually dash cancel her V-skill. You can dash cancel it at any rate, at any speed you want, at any amount of charge. Doesn't matter. It does not function like an FADC in that you can cancel one move into her V-skill. You know, if we did a fireball, does not cancel the V-skill. Does not cancel. Doesn't cancel. Yeah, if we do overhead, still doesn't cancel. So it's not an FADC if you're excited about that. It's just a dash cancel. Now, you might ask yourself why you want to dash cancel a move which you're just going to let go anyway. Well, there's a few answers to that. First and foremost is that it's my game. Yeah? You think you're going to do it? Oh, I dashed out of it. I'm going to do something else now. I'm going to jab you. You jibbity jabs. That's first and foremost. Second and foremost, and much more interesting, is that once you get to level 2, so again like an FADC in that it has levels, but once you get to level 2 is when smoke comes out from underneath her. Once you can see smoke coming out from underneath her, not the wind effect, it has to be that little puff of smoke that comes out. There's a little puff of smoke and a big puff of smoke if you actually watch. Once you get to the smoke, she actually retains the charge from it. She'll actually keep that charge, and what that means is that now I can go full screen having just tapped it without charging it. If I tap it again, now we're just doing the one hit version. Now it's just one hit. But if I do my level 2 charge, now it's 2 hits. So that's very interesting because that means you can now use it in combos. That's something that'll be covered in the next video. That's just something to bear in mind that once you get to that level 2, you can't do it if we do it too soon. It's just the regular version. You have to wait for that puff of smoke to get level 2 for your charge. But that is one of their primary mix-up tools, is that because once you get that, it's going to be in front, then behind, so they're going to have to guess when they see you disappear if they have to block behind or in front first. So that's going to be the guessing game there, and that's what's going to be getting you damage sometimes. So that is a very important part of a V-skill. The third part of a V-skill, because there's 4 parts to it, it's actually a really interesting V-skill, is there's also normal cancelable. It can be cancelled off of certain normals. Back head kick, boom. Other ones, I think it's elbow. Yep, elbow can do it. Things like that. So she can cancel it off of normals as well, which is just really gonna mess with people. So that's another thing to keep in mind as well, that you can use in those situations. If we do a charge, then you have even more options. 3 hits instead of 2, hitting twice in front, then behind. So this is really where her mix-up game starts to shine, is with this V-skill. Alright, and the last part of this V-skill, which I'm going to show you, is another part of the mix-up, is that it can also be cancelled after she dashes. So if you hit the V-skill again, once she's actually started, she comes out of it. It happens in just about any range. You can't do it too soon, as you see there. But you can make them think you go up to them, and then, oh, I'm in front of you now. I didn't do anything at all. I was never here. So, yeah. Very interesting. So you can get different ranges out of it, you just can't do it too fast. Otherwise, it'll just go through with it. If you do, that's fast, that was full. So you can kind of hear the speeds that I'm doing it at there to do this. So you can, it doesn't buffer, but it's just a timing thing. But you can get some very interesting, there's going to be a lot of technology I think that's going to be discovered in the weeks and months ahead with that to extend our combos or for our mix-ups, which are going to be very good. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. There will be a follow-up very shortly for all of our combos and advanced techniques. If you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, do all of those things, and I will see you very soon.